indexed in Scopus to publish scientific articles. But first, I want to remind you of the stages of the research process that we saw in a previous video. It all starts with the written planning of a project or protocol and ends with the communication of the results. I will leave the link in the description. There are several ways to communicate the results, including, for example, publication in thesis repositories. There is also participation as a speaker at conferences or research seminars. However, by far, the most efficient and strategic way to communicate these results is through the publication of scientific articles. This not only gives you greater visibility for you and your work, but also allows you to have a higher score as a researcher and also apply for competitions or awards. Keep in mind that international rankings such as SIMAGO are structured based on the number of articles published and their impact on the scientific community. Now, let's get started. Step 1. Search for googlecopus.com. Step 2. We go to Sources. Step 3. We click on the blue arrow on the left side corresponding to title to choose the search filter. Here we choose Subjecta or Thematic Area. Step 4. We enter Dentistry if we want to choose Odontology, or we enter Medicine if we want a medical journal. For this example, we are going to choose Odontology journals. Step 5. We mark the corresponding option and click on Apply. Then the results that correspond to the bibliographic sources indexed in this case Dentistry, will appear on the screen. We see that there are 261 results. Step 6. We are going to use the scroll bar on the right side to restrict our search to journals, and we apply this change in Apply, leaving us with 260 results. Step 7. Again, using the scroll bar on the right side, we can establish filters according to the quartiles that we can see here. Remember that the quartiles order the journals from highest to lowest in terms of indexes or impact factor. This classification has a direct impact on the prestige of the journal. Q1 or quartile 1 will consist of the first 25% of the journals on the list. Q2 will consist of journals from 26 to 50%, and so on until reaching quartile 4. So, after this parenthesis on the quartiles, we go to Step 8. In this step, we choose the quartile. I suggest that you choose the quartile based on the experience your research team has in scientific publications, because the higher the quartile, the greater the requirements and demands. If it is the first time you are going to publish in a Scopus journal, I suggest starting with a journal in quartile 4, and we will see 43 results. This means that in quartile 4 of Scopus there are 43 journals to choose from. This number of results or journals may vary over time. Among these 43 results in quartile 4, we can see that there are journals in different languages: English, Italian, Portuguese, and also Spanish. For example, among the journals that accept publication in Spanish, we have the Spanish Journal of Oral and Maxillofacial Surgery. We have the Journal of Stomatology and Advances in Odontostomatology. Now, I'm going to give you 3 tips to help you better choose the journal in which you're going to publish. First, check that the journal is still indexed in Scopus to this day. For example, let's go to the Journal of Stomatology. We click on the journal and the source details will appear, right? This journal is still indexed in Scopus to this day. However, if we go to another journal, for example, Journal of Dentistry X, we will realize that this journal was only indexed in the years 2019 and 2020. Let's go back to the Journal of Stomatology for the second tip. And the second tip is to go to the journal's website. To do that, we're going to go to the source homepage. Once on the journal's website, check that the published articles have similarities in the design, methodology, and statistics used in your article. In other words, look for those who have published articles similar to yours. Where are we going to look? In the latest issue of the journal, here we can see the titles of the published articles. For example, you will find journals that give preference to systematic reviews, others to clinical trials, others to in vitro studies, or that have large sample sizes. If, when reviewing the journal's articles, you verify that it is interested in publishing works like yours, then we move on to the third tip. To do this, you will look for where the instructions for authors are. Click, and once inside, Verify that your work complies with the requirements or guidelines for authors. For example, that it accepts the type of article you want to submit. I am referring to the language, the references. Regarding the references, for example, the maximum or minimum number of references, databases used for bibliographic references, maximum number of authors, payments, etc. For example, here we can see that there are no charges in this journal for submitting publications. If you have no issues when reviewing the above guidelines, then all that remains is to follow the specific steps indicated by the journal for submitting your manuscript. For example, the number of keywords, the type of document you can submit, the minimum or maximum number of bibliographic references, the location of tables, the location or characteristics of figures, the maximum number of authors, etc. If you have any recommendations for choosing a journal in Scopus, please leave them in the comments. Thank you very much for your attention, and remember that science is the best tool for generating knowledge.